when the head of the Ku Klux Klan, when all these weird groups come out in favor of the candidate of my party, either they're not Republicans or I'm not.
Sound familiar? That was a presidential attack ad from 1964. Sounds a little like modern-day politics, doesn't it? It was part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's re-election campaign that essentially changed political advertising from there on out. Joining us now, a very special guest, Sid Myers. He was art director for the ad agency behind that commercial and a couple dozen others from, again, 1964. Sid, great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
I imagine you're looking at this election cycle and kind of chomping at the bit, because I know you're still doing work in that creative arena. What do you see as the similarities that was happening in terms of dynamics politically back in 1964 to what we have going on here today?
Well, it is so similar, it's scary that any one of these commercials can be run now and just change the name.
You think so?
It would be effective. Well, especially the one, the Confessions of a Republican. You just change the name on that and you could run it just the way it is.
Against Donald Trump.
Against Donald Trump, yes.
I mean, in fact, I just want to read some of it. I wish we had more of it, but here's one. Now, it seems to me we're up against a very different kind of man. This man scares me. Now, maybe I'm wrong. A friend of mine just said to me, listen, just because a man sounds a little irresponsible during a campaign doesn't mean he's going to act irresponsibly. I mean, these are the very things.
Exactly.
It's
How was
all
the delivery?
déjà vu.
How was the delivery, by the way?
Not bad, not
But I
bad.
mean,
A little bit of that like gangster. Hey, let me tell you, see, another thing, see.
Tone it down a little bit. You're getting a little too crazy.
So you think if you were designing an attack ad against Donald Trump, you would revisit this? What would you do?
It would be pretty close to this. Well, I would take whatever he says. But he's been saying these phrases of getting rid of the Mexicans and putting them across the border. You know, if you made it into a visual, what we did was take the Goldwater statements and made them into visuals, so it became more impactful.
Oh, I see. So you would take what Donald Trump, if you were working for Hillary Clinton and you were doing an attack ad against Donald Trump, you would turn his idea to deport illegal immigrants and you would visually demonstrate that.
Well, could you imagine having thousands of trucks with people being loaded onto trucks in San Diego, and the line goes all the way down to what?
Tijuana.
Tijuana, right? And loading up children, loading up old people, babies. It would be.
It's taking the rhetoric
right.
and some
Not
simple
only that,
statements.
it kind of harkens back to what happened in 1939 with loading people onto trains and buses. So it's pretty scary.
The visuals could be very powerful. I want to play another ad that you guys designed that's perhaps the most famous of all. Take a look. This is your Daisy ad, and then we'll talk.
7, 6, 6, 8, 9, 9.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. These are the stakes to make a world in which all of God's children can live.
That ad was played once and yet had a lasting impact. I want to read you what the New York Times says about this ad. Within days of its first showing, the little girl with the daisies had come what is probably the most controversial TV commercial of all time. Newspapers were bombarded with letters from angry Republicans and from dismayed Democrats. Telephone calls were made to TV states in protest. Do you take pride in having that kind of an impact?
Yes, yes. That's what it was there for. First of all, we never mentioned Goldwater's name. You have to remember that 2 years before that, the Cuban Missile Crisis was happening. The country was so fearful of nuclear annihilation that was in the air. And all we did was just take that commercial and make that impressed on people's minds that this could happen.
Where's
What's
the line?
the Daisy ad of this election cycle?
that's
Sorry,
what
Chris.
Excuse me?
What is the Daisy ad of this election cycle then?
There were a couple of them, But
You think they're similarly controversial?
Yeah.
I mean, no, there's been no ad that's more controversial than
well,
the Daisy ad.
not letting the Muslims, keeping the Muslims from coming in.
Well,
You could take that and run
You're
with
saying potential fodder for an ad. Let me ask you something. What do you think the line is when you're doing these ads between this is a fair way to push it and you know what, this is too suggestive in an unfair
It has
way?
to come from the truth. It has to be truthful. It can't be hype or hyperbole. It has to be truthful. And what you do is look at that truth from a slightly off-center point of view, because he's been saying, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, and now it's become so prevalent that it doesn't have any effect anymore. But if you do a commercial and look at what he said about build the wall and look at it from 5 degrees off center, you'll get some imaginative and some impactful.
Interesting.
If the Clinton campaign gave you a call and said, we need you to bring it up, would you say yes?
Here's my card.
All right, there you have it. There's the challenge. Thank you so much, Sid Myers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.